Hey everyone, Peter Clampton here, and just coming at you with kind of a more serious video. I haven't done videos for a while, just because life got really hard and some crazy things have happened around the house. And I've this last week I've had the absolute worst week of my life, like absolute rock bottom, or like below that, because I thought I hit rock bottom a couple years back, but this is way below that. And there was a lot of things that I knew were coming, and I've had a lot of conflicting feelings. A lot of conflicting feelings. I'm just so straight up that I pray, right? I believe in God, um, and I do try to make most of my decisions based off of that. And for the last 13 months, I've had a really tough decision I've needed to make. Um, it was the regards in this one particular relationship in my life, this really important relationship with a family member. Um, like won't necessarily go into details, but one of the things I've come to see and realize is that family is a really interesting thing because you can't choose them, and in some cases you can, like with marriage and stuff, but and a lot of times you don't choose them. And I believe like when God calls you to something, like you don't just back out of it. But for this last 13 months, I've realized there's been a part of me that's been like, I don't like the way this relationship is. I don't like seeing or being around this person. And it's because honestly in a lot of ways they're really toxic and they're tough to be around. Um but there's something I learned, right? And I felt like especially these last few months, I became a really toxic person. I became really angry. And I started to resent this person for some of the things they had done, right? And kind of how they were treating me and how they were always playing the victim, things like that. And just recently there was something really bad happened, and um I was in a position where I could have exposed them or been mean, but I was trying to protect them, and I felt like I was thrown completely under the bus. So now, like, I have a bunch of people who, I mean, I basically, I'm in a bad situation with a lot of different people now, because of, trying to cover up some nonsense. And so now I'm at this point where it's like, okay, well, maybe I could just, kind of tell all about this person and kind of come clean with myself and kind of clean up my reputation, which is really important to me. Um, but I, but as I've thought about it more and more, like this person is really important to me. The other day I was talking with a friend, and I mean, I'm a really direct guy, and I'm not super like lovey-dovey and affectionate all the time. And I guess the other day some friends told me that I don't validate very much. Not in the sense that any more than the next person, but that it's not a particular strength of mine. Um, and that they felt like maybe compared to the average person, I might validate more than other, but not to the point where people who are excessively needy or in great need feel validated. And I realized this other person that I've been having some issues with, my family member, they're in this point in their life where they need like this excess amount of validation. And I personally think it needs to be, from self validation and kind of like in these healthy doses, and they need like healthy interactions and things. But I realized just in my proximity with this person, I was becoming to resent them. I myself was becoming toxic. And it was really bad. And, I see a lot of videos on YouTube that are like, get away from toxic people, dump them and stuff. And I was reading some articles, and I've read so many articles about it. But the other day, I've just had this feeling like, where did we come as a society where we're so concerned about self-preservation, that we abandon other people? And it's funny because our society right now, that's like so basic, right? That's so basic. And it's like, well, that's obvious, right? Why wouldn't you think like that's how we live? But it's like, what if it wasn't? Like, what if the very nature of our society and the way it was built, that's the thing that's wrong? And it creates all these, divorce rates are way on the high, and like families are being broken apart all the time. And what if the very nature of that system was wrong? The very foundational thought process on it. What if that's incorrect? I was reading in the Bible and praying, and it says, pray for thy enemies and trying to help this person. And I'm kind of at this point where it's like, is this person my adversary? Especially because I felt like they totally threw me under the bus, right? Totally. But then I realized something. Like, when we're weak and we're not able to handle things, like there's literally a part of the human psyche, our condition, where we're not strong enough, and we do need that support. And we need to have strong enough supports around us. And regardless of the actions, and if we don't build that up in ourselves, we're going to fall. And I realize as much as we want to toss out the toxic people in our life, that's so easy. It's so easy to just be like, I don't need this person in my life. I got to deal with myself. But I definitely am a believer of space. And that was one of the biggest things like this person couldn't get, was that we needed space. And so now the situation has turned out there's kind of a mandatory space between us. And I feel like it had to get to that point on a on really horrible, horrific terms. But it's like that. And I realized, like, I'm obviously committed to coming out and being the healthiest person I can do. I want to write books. I have all my dreams ahead of me and things. But I realized, though, like, it's gonna sound weird, but like in a lot of way, people need other people. And like one thing, I remember I was so angry, and I was like, if I leave this person, you know, like I was just gonna leave them and kind of dump them. And I realized the reason people are feeling needy is because, you know what, they actually need something. And I always said, like, you can't get that thing from me, right? And I might not be strong enough to give it to them, especially right now and the need and the dosage they need. But I realized, like, in some ways, like, you can't just dump people. You just can't. Like, it's not right. Like, my mom, she's, I mean, we've definitely had our battles and stuff, but, like, even with all the mistakes I have, real family, she comes through for me. And I realized, like, no matter what, all the accusations, all the bad things that people do, you don't really dump family. And I realized, like, that principle, that character facet, that's the thing we're missing in our society. And that's why people don't ever learn how to be happy. That's why it's so hard to be happy. Because that one, people call it commitment. And I realize there's commitment by convenience. But maybe, like, in that ultimate inconvenience. Because think about it, kids are not convenient. Anyone, like, I've raised kids. Anyone who knows and has been around kids knows kids are not convenient, right? And they're so vulnerable. And, like, we give them a pass because they're younger, but it's like, just because someone's older, like an adult, doesn't necessarily mean they had the emotional or physical capacity of that. Doesn't mean they don't have the potential, though. And I was praying the other day, and something like I really felt powerfully was that, like, even when you're really, really hurt and someone does something really, really messed up to you, like what this person did was just, it was not okay, right? It was not okay. But when people are in pain, and especially if you're a large cause of that pain, if they're looking to you for that, and I'm not saying it's right, but when they're not getting it and they feel like they're around you and you're negative, and I'll admit, like, I don't really pander to people's weaknesses, and that's a weak. In some ways, I think it's a strength, but in some ways, I feel like I haven't learned how to develop people who are really hurting and to be nurturing. And I realized, like, that's a facet of myself I need to develop. And had I had this facet, things probably wouldn't have gotten as bad. And as easy as it is to, like, point at the person and say, "Look at you, you screwed up." Like, you really want that person to be better. So that's not really the point. And that was something that, like, I just really hit me was the other day, someone, I was calling a friend, And they were saying, well, this person, this family member of mine never felt loved by me. And I'm not gonna lie, even for the longest time, I didn't believe I loved them, and I was like, I'm very slow to profess love, really for anyone, but especially this person because this person was just so annoying and so needy and so toxic and all these things, and I really legitimately believed I didn't love them. So when he said that, I was like, whatever, right? But then I was thinking, like really, really thinking of all the people who really find me annoying, when I've been really, really toxic and really needy. All right. And I was thinking back at when I was in that state like that. How would I have wanted people to treat me? And I realized, like, this is the difference. Is I treated this person like I was treated. And that helped me because, like, I'm very direct and callous and, like, very thought provoked in how I say things. And the person and the people that helped me could be direct and it helped me do that. But I realized for my family member, they're a lot softer, they need a lot more nurturing. And for the longest time, I thought, well, I'm just not that person and I can't deal with it. But now, like, I'm at this point where, I can dump this person out of my life and totally cut them out of my life. And I'm thinking, like, why, I should probably do that. But then I was going back to that foundational principle. Is that really what people are all about? You see someone sick and you just chuck them. And we talk about, like, natural selection and all these other things, but, like, that's what makes us better as human beings. Like, we can take someone who's sick and help them be strong. That's what modern day medicine's all about, you know? Like, there's so many things in our life where people just, they don't have a shot. And even they drag themselves down. But, like, I was just thinking, imagine if someone, like, didn't hire Robert Downey Jr. after all the stuff that happened to him. I know that's extreme, but imagine if Robert Downey Jr. was not given another chance after he gotten all those drugs and everything. We wouldn't have Iron Man. We probably wouldn't have the Avengers and all those freaking sick movies that I frankly really, really enjoy. And I was just thinking, like, he was given a chance. And, like, this person, like my family member, they have a lot of potential. And I feel like they've been destroying themselves for so long. And, like, and the thing is, the closer you get to this person, the more destructive they become, right? And the people that, I feel like there's a lot of people that enable this person to be crazy. And this person wants to change. They want to change their life. But they just don't know how to do it. And it's crazy because when you get to know someone and you see, like, this is how you can help them get what they want, and you're the one that's able to give them their dreams, I realize, like, that's really messed up to not do that, especially if you're the only one, because in my family, I'm in a particular position and have a particular thing that I can do, and I can give them this opportunity. And having them around has been really cancerous and bad for me. And, like, right now I'm really weighing and I don't know how to feel because, like, people need to grow up and they need to change, but everyone needs help. Like, everyone needs help. And I just realized, like, even if someone does something really, really messed up to you, you have to think about their intent. And the thing is, like, at the time, like, this person, like, they just don't have control, right? Their mouth goes off and they lose control and, like, they turn everything against you and they twist. And, like, I realize some people, are manipulators because when they feel that need that's broken, they just want it. I remember as a kid, stealing candy from another kid's backpack. Yeah, I did that. I'm a bad boy. And when the teachers came to me, like, I wanted to lie and try and change and manipulate it. And right now, even as I get older, I don't consider myself a very manipulative person. I feel like I'm very honest and direct, almost to a fault. It hurts some feelings. But I realize, like, people feeling like I'm just kind of rambling, but, like, what I'm trying to say is that, like, even when people really hurt us and do some things that are really, really bad, if the person recognizes what they did, I still think we need to take precautions to avoid it, to keep them away and things like that. But I realize you still have to give people a chance to get their dreams, right? And like I was on my knees, I was praying, um, and I've been praying for a while, and I just like I haven't been good enough to help this person, right? And I've been hurt a lot of ways, and I've become toxic in a lot of ways. Um, and I think that's probably why a lot of the progress with everything of mine stopped, the writing, the books, and all that, because this person was taking a huge chunk out of me. And I realize I need to be able, like, I need to retreat to a safe distance, but at the same time, like, people deserve a shot at their dreams. Everyone deserves that. And I think everyone deserves many chances they can get. We deserve mercy. We deserve, if we're willing to try, you know? Like, I think there is sometimes you can just do too much damage. Like, I was watching this crazy movie, this Korean movie called Hope. And, I mean, I'll just let you look it up. Um, but there's a dude in it who does something really, really bad. All right. And I'm like, man, that guy's beyond mercy. uh, some people do. But I think, like, the person who knows how much is enough is the person that's hurt. You know what I mean? Like, when someone hurts me, I feel like in the end, like, you have to be judged and stuff, but I'm the only person who knows enough's enough. And you have to understand, like, maybe the problem isn't that this person isn't willing to change, but they just need a change of environment, and you need to change the status quo. There's just change of strategy because you see that in them, right? But I don't know. I really don't know, right? And I don't know how many people are gonna see this video. I just needed to get something out there, because it's been on my mind and I've been thinking about it. But like I realized, like when people really hurt you and you're really, really, just cut down, I realize anger is not a good response, right? I've learned that especially as of late. But I mean, one of the biggest things is like, I gotta emphasize this is that everyone deserves a shot at their dreams. And like now, if some people are gonna come into your life and hold you back and things like that, that's fine. Especially when you've given them a lot of different chances. But honestly, maybe sometimes like you just gotta give them a chance. Like, and you gotta change it. You can't just give them a chance and go back to the way things were. You gotta change things. Like, I know, like for sure, I'm gonna put a lot more distance between this person. Like, I used to live with them, so like I'm gonna live at a different place, and I gotta find a way to pick up all the pieces of this collateral damage that's happened, um, between me and them, and that's a big thing for me. But like one of the biggest things is just like realizing like toxic people are still people and they don't have to stay toxic. I want to talk about just one quick way I learned this. In Neon Genesis Evangelion, it's my favorite anime ever. There's these two characters, Shinji and Asuka. Both, like you could say, were pretty toxic people, like depressed, unmotivated, had mental issues, really tough to be in like a relationship, I imagine, with. Like definitely none of them could be married. I mean, they were kids, but none of them could be in a really good relationship, and they fought and they hated each other. But like they still loved each other, but they didn't recognize it, right? Everyone from the outside in can recognize it, and some people like I think people who aren't keen think, okay, you don't love that person. Because honestly, as I'm living and growing older, I don't think very many people are too keen. I honestly don't think very many people care about other people. They pretend they do, but I don't think they do. I really think like people they don't put the amount of thought or the amount of energy or just the honest effort to really try and to know another person. That's why I mean a lot of people don't even understand themselves that well, much less the other people in their lives because we're just so sedated And it's going back to that system, right? That system that just says, well, cut toxic people out of your life and do this. And I do think there are some people that, they're so crazy, like the village crazy man or the witch or whatever, that they're so bad, you have to get them away. But I think there's a lot of people, especially in this day and age, come into a time where we're just messed up, straight up. Like people are just messed up. And I mean, even me, like I've got some stuff that I'm messed up with, and I don't necessarily think it makes me as toxic, maybe as some people. I wouldn't classify myself as a toxic person, but I don't think too many people do, right? But I'm definitely more toxic now than I was, say, a year ago because this relationship and a lot of other things. But I realized like people deserve a shot at their dreams. And one thing I realized about Shinji and Asuka, like I loved about them, was that at the end of the series, if anyone's seen it, the world ends. Everyone's melded into one consciousness, and afterwards, Asuka and Shinji share this moment where like Shinji sees her and he's like freaking choking her and like wants to kill her and stuff. And then Asuka, even though she's getting killed, she caresses his face, and then she says in Japanese "kimochi warui," which means I feel bad. Um, but if you know Japanese, you know that there's a lot of ways you can take that. The English translation was like, I don't know, I feel disgusting. I can't remember the English translation. Um, but the Japanese, I remember I was watching it the other day, and I've jumped through so many different interpretations. But one thing that really hit me was I realized that when she was saying that, Asuka wasn't talking about herself. She was talking about Shinji. And what I mean is in Japanese, you don't establish the subject like I. You just say it, and sometimes the subject's insinuated. But that's what makes that line so powerful. You can take it different ways. And when I saw it, I felt like that meant that people, like she finally felt what Shinji felt. She finally understood how bad he felt. That he felt sick, he felt disgusting, he felt awful about some of the things he'd done to her. And he was choking her and doing these things because even in that moment, and he saw her and was reminded of those things, he just wanted to get away, and those feelings came back to him, right? But when she, was empathetic and reached out and understood and caressed, he stopped choking her. And I think that's kind of like how toxic people are in our lives, Sometimes like people just need to be validated. And that's one thing I realized with this person. They needed validation and I wasn't giving it to them. Now I don't necessarily think, you know what? I used to think people aren't entitled to validation, but as I'm getting older, I'm starting to realize like, you know what? In some ways they are. And I personally, I'm striving to not necessarily look to anyone for that and find it within myself. But I realize and you have to get it from yourself. You have to get it from yourself at first. That's the only way it really counts. If you don't validate yourself, even if a bunch of other people are like, oh, you're awesome, da 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 da, it's never going to sink in. But with this person, I realized that was their main issue. And they were going to me, and I know I couldn't fix it, and I was unable to pull the trigger and kind of create distance to allow kind of a healthy growth because I just didn't know how to handle the situation. And now there's been a situation that's kind of forced us apart, which is good. And I've been pondering about whether or not to fully sever the relationship and just cut it off. But like when I talk, especially to the people that are talking to this person and all the people that are surrounding them, these people just enable this person. And this person knows that. That's why they like wanted to be around me. And like you put yourself as the savior and stuff. And I realized like I need distance. I need to take care of myself and build that up. And so I'm going to give that to myself. But I realized like I don't know. because I've been burned one too many times by this person. I've been burned bad. But I realize this hesitance, this reluctance I'm feeling, that's love, right? When you don't want to dump someone and you don't want to just throw them away, it's because you care about them. And like when you're in a bad moment and you're getting, your arm chewed off by the lion and your guts ripped out, at that moment you feel like, hey, I don't want to be near this lion. I want to throw it to me. But when you're patched up, or before you're in that cage, especially when you realize the lion like doesn't know what it's doing, it's easy to just fall back in love with that creature. You know what I mean? And I realize like sometimes really, really powerful people and people who are capable of a lot hurt you. And they don't know they're hurting you. But in spite of all that, they still think they love, but just everyone's messed up. Like they're messed up. And the thing is, those mess ups, right? That's maybe what might make them great. I heard this message that said like, make your mess your message. And like this person, like they've got a lot of cleaning up to do, honestly. And if they don't realize that, then obviously that makes my decision for me, because you can't help someone who doesn't recognize the damage they've done. You can't help someone like that. Especially when they're just like, oh, I've got to protect me and mine, and they don't recognize the damage they've done. And honestly, with this person, I don't know. One time they're saying like this or that, another time they go right back into their victim mindset, and you never really know what is this person thinking, right? And when their actions show, you're just like, well, okay, same old problems, and you get wrapped up in it. And now especially, some bad things have happened to me, and I should be able to clean it up. If justice is served, things will be all right for me. But kind of looking ahead for this person and my family member, I'm just thinking like, cutting them out of my life completely for a time maybe, or maybe always putting permanent blocks there. I think for some people that's good, but like I said, I believe everyone's got a shot. I believe everyone deserves a shot for their dreams. Like I can't tell you how much I think that. Said it again and again, and I'm going almost 30 minutes into this video, and if anyone watched it this far, props on you. You must really care about me or know who I am or something like that. But everyone deserves a shot at their dreams. So I just want to leave you guys with that thought, and I kind of dumped it out. I'll probably put it on YouTube because I'll seek some sort of validation, like or something, I don't know, but I don't know how long this video will be up. But I'm just realizing like, if you have the opportunity to give someone their ultimate happiness, you ought to let them get it. And if they've burned you one too many times, give them some distance. But like, I don't know how to do it. Like, I really don't know how to do it. But like, as I'm praying about it, I just feel like everyone deserves a shot. And maybe this is me kind of wrapped up because I'm emotionally needy. I don't know if there's some psychological term, Stockholm syndrome or something like that. I definitely have felt like a prisoner more than once this year. But that's what love is. And people say they want to change. I believe people deserve time. And I definitely think there's got to be a status quo change. Like, we're going to be living in different places and things like that. But as for severing ties completely, I certainly don't want that. I mean, it's going to be up to them. But I mean, once again, you can't help someone who's toxic if they don't believe they're toxic. Like, so you just got to kind of go on and do your thing. And so that's what I'm going to do either way. I don't know. I'll talk to them soon and kind of work it out, but just wanted to share my thoughts and leave it at that. It's Peter Clampton making a very, very long video about stuff. Catch you on the flip side.